Welcome back, everybody, to today's deep dive. We're going to be cracking open Unlocking Life.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had a chance to look at this one yet?
I have, yeah. It's quite something. It's not like those other self-help books out there.
It's not. It's, well, for one thing, you've got personal stories in here. You've got professional insights, and then you even have
Yeah, like actual research.
Yeah, there's some research woven in, so it's not just like some guru telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And the author has a pretty interesting background, too. I mean,
Yeah.
counselor to VA, 10 years in the military,
Right.
and some pretty intense personal experiences with loss and resilience.
Yeah, you can really feel that coming through in the writing.
Yeah, like their whole life experience is kind of baked into the book.
Definitely.
So we're going to be looking at a lot of different themes today.
Mm-hmm.
Self-compassion, resilience, relationships, societal issues, even some practical tools for success.
Yeah, I think what struck me right away was just how central self-compassion is for the author.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the foundation for everything else.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they're not talking about self-pity or being self-indulgent.
No, it's
Yeah.
more about recognizing your own humanity, I think.
Yeah, like accepting yourself flaws and all.
Exactly.
And that's actually a big part of their aha moment that they talk about.
Oh, right. The story about realizing their self-worth wasn't tied to other people's opinions?
Exactly. They were really struggling with this harsh inner critic.
Yeah,
You know?
I remember that.
And then it's like a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
They realized they were worthy just as they were.
Yeah. It's a pretty powerful realization.
It is. And that idea of radical self-acceptance, it just kind of permeates the whole book.
For sure. You see it in how they approach resilience, too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not about being this, superhuman who never gets knocked down.
Right. It's more about getting back up after you fall. Exactly.
And learning from those falls, too.
Yeah. They talk about how their military background, taught them to adapt and overcome.
Right. In those high-pressure situations.
Yeah. But it was the personal losses, the grief, the heartbreak that really pushed them to confront their vulnerability.
And that's where true resilience comes from, I think.
Yeah, it's like you can't really build resilience without going through some tough stuff.
I think that's true.
And that leads us right into one of the most powerful sections of the book, I thought. Finding strength and letting go.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
The author talks about how clinging to things, whether it's relationships, beliefs,
Yeah.
even material possessions,
Yeah.
it can actually hold us back.
Mm-hmm.
There's this great analogy they use about holding onto a cactus.
Yeah.
You think you're in control,
Right?
but you're just hurting yourself.
Yeah, I get it.
And that image, it really connects to their own experience with loss.
Yeah, losing loved ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had to learn to let go of this illusion of control
Yeah.
and find strength and acceptance.
Right. It's a hard lesson to learn.
It is. And they even say, and this really hit me hard, sometimes love isn't enough to save a relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's...
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
But it's also like this really important realization. Sometimes you have to move on, even if it hurts.
Yeah, you can't force things to work.
And that's where I think the author's counseling background really comes through.
Yeah.
They have this amazing ability to balance empathy with practicality.
They acknowledge the pain, but they also offer tools to work through it,
Exactly.
to emerge stronger on the other side.
Yeah, and those tools, those practical strategies, that's what we're going to be diving into next.
Okay, sounds good. I'm ready.
All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump back in.
Sounds good.
All right. So one of the things that the author really dives into is relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Like a whole section of the book is dedicated to navigating the labyrinth of relationships.
It's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
They cover so much like communication, empathy, vulnerability boundaries,
Yeah.
love in all its forms.
Yeah, it's really comprehensive.
It is. And one of the things that stood out to me was this analogy they used for conflict resolution,
Oh, yeah.
the dance of two egos. Isn't that great?
It's such a good way to think about it.
It is. It's not about one person winning and the other losing.
Right.
It's about finding a rhythm that works for both partners.
Even when their steps clash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of self-awareness and understanding.
Oh, for sure.
Not just of your own needs, but of your partner's needs as well.
Yeah, and that's where I think the whole love languages thing comes in.
Oh, yeah. That is a big one.
The idea that we all give and receive love in different ways.
Right.
And the author breaks down the 5 main types.
Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch.
Exactly.
And they talk about how understanding these differences can be like a game changer in relationships.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're speaking different languages,
Right.
it's no wonder you're not understanding each other.
Exactly. And it's not just about romantic relationships either.
Right. This applies to all kinds of relationships.
Yeah, family friendships, even work relationships. And what's interesting is how the author ties this concept back to self-compassion.
Oh, yeah.
They say, if you don't understand your own love language,
How can you expect anyone else to speak it?
it's about recognizing your own needs and being able to communicate them clearly.
Which is also about setting boundaries, right?
Yes. And that's another area where the author's military background comes into play.
How interesting.
They talk about how in the military, boundaries are essential for maintaining order and safety.
Right. You got to have those clear lines.
Exactly. And it's not about being cold or distant.
It's about respect.
Yes. And having clear lines of responsibility. And the author argues that the same principle applies to personal relationships.
Oh, I see. So it's about protecting your own emotional energy.
Exactly. And not letting people drain you dry.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they even have a whole chapter on dealing with toxic people.
Oh, yeah. That one's really interesting.
It is. And it's not what you might expect.
No, they don't just say, cut everyone off at the first sign of the trouble.
Right.
They actually encourage you to look deeper.
To try to understand where that behavior is coming from.
Yeah, and to set boundaries that protect your own well-being.
It's a more nuanced approach, for sure.
It is. There's this one line that really stuck with me.
What like it?
Sometimes a person's toxic behavior is a cry for help,
Oh, wow.
a manifestation of their own internal battles.
That's deep.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that everyone's fighting their own demons
Yeah,
and that compassion can be a powerful tool even in difficult relationships.
for sure.
So we've talked about self-compassion, resilience relationships.
A lot of big themes.
We have. But the author doesn't shy away from societal issues either.
Oh, right. There's a whole section on that, too.
There is. And it gets pretty deep. They talk about gender dynamics and equality,
Right, yeah.
even the way we perceive gendered communication styles.
Yeah, that's a complex topic.
It is. But you can really see the influence of their military background here.
How so?
They're not afraid to challenge traditional norms.
Right.
But they do it with this sense of respect
Yeah.
and a focus on finding common ground.
Yeah, I like that approach.
It's refreshing. And for instance, in the chapter on the gender pay gap,
Okay.
they acknowledge the role of discrimination.
Of course.
But they also encourage readers to consider other factors,
like what?
career choices, negotiation skills.
Things like that.
Exactly. It's about having a more balanced and informed conversation.
Rather than just pointing fingers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the author's expertise as a counselor really comes in.
Yeah.
They have this knack for breaking down complex issues into digestible pieces
Making it easier to understand.
and offering both empathy and practical solutions.
That's a good combination.
It is. And speaking of practical solutions,
Okay.
that's where the book really takes a turn towards actionable advice.
Oh, interesting.
The author dives into topics like productivity, goal setting, even financial strategies.
So it's like, okay, we've talked about all this internal stuff.
Right.
Now let's put it into practice.
Exactly. Let's create a life that reflects our values.
I like that.
And what I find really fascinating is how the author blends personal anecdotes with research-backed insights.
Oh, yeah. They do a good job of that.
They do. Like, for example, when they talk about setting SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly. They actually share their own struggles with procrastination
Oh, wow.
and how this framework helped them overcome those challenges.
So they're not just preaching from on high.
No, they're right there in the trenches with us.
That's good to know.
It is. And they don't shy away from sharing their own financial missteps either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They talk about the importance of diversifying investments, managing debt,
Practical stuff?
very practical, and even the dangers of chasing get-rich-quick schemes.
It's like they're giving us a behind-the-scenes look.
Yeah, showing us that even experts make mistakes.
But learning from those mistakes is key.
Exactly. And that emphasis on learning and growth it just permeates the whole book.
Yeah, you can tell they're a lifelong learner.
They are. And they don't present themselves as some guru with all the answers.
Right.
They're more like a fellow traveler sharing their insights and tools.
Inviting us to join them on the journey.
Exactly. And that journey, it's not always easy,
No.
but it's definitely worth it.
And they give us a lot of concrete strategies for navigating that path.
They do. One that really resonated with me was the idea of deep work.
Oh, yeah. Carving out time for focused, distraction-free effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The author argues that in today's world, with all the distractions.
It's so hard to focus.
It is. This kind of intentional concentration is essential for making real progress.
It's about prioritizing quality over quantity.
Exactly. Focusing on the tasks that truly matter.
And letting go of all the busy work.
Right. And it all ties back to self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding your own energy rhythms. Identifying your peak productivity times.
Creating a schedule that supports your goals.
Instead of sabotaging them.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And you know what else they talk about?
What's that?
Rest and recovery.
Oh, yeah. You can't just hustle all the time.
You can't. They emphasize the need for sleep, relaxation, even moments of pure joy and silliness.
It's about taking care of yourself.
It is.
Yeah.
Because that's the foundation for everything else.
And that holistic approach, it really comes through in the whole book.
It does. The author doesn't just focus on one aspect of life.
Right.
They weave together personal growth relationships, societal awareness, practical skills.
It's like a tapestry.
It is. It's a tapestry that reflects the complexity of being human.
And that's what makes this book so refreshing.
It is. It's an invitation to embrace our whole selves.
Flaws and all.
And to create a life that's both fulfilling and meaningful.
I think we could all use a little more of that.
I agree. So that's Unlocking Life in a nutshell.
A lot to unpack there.
There is. But I think it's a book that can really make a difference in people's lives.
I think so too.
It's funny because when you think about it, most self-help books kind of present this idea of reaching some sort of perfection.
Like you're going to arrive at this perfect state.
Yeah. And then you'll be happy.
Right.
But this book is different.
It is. It's much more realistic, I think.
Yeah. It's about embracing all of it,
Yeah. The messiness, the contradictions.
The whole human experience.
Exactly. It's not about erasing the hard parts.
Right. It's about learning to navigate them.
And one of the tools the author offers for that is self-reflection.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Not just thinking about your day, but really digging deeper,
Like examining your beliefs, your motivations.
Yeah. The patterns that keep showing up in your life.
And they even have this exercise where you identify the assets and liabilities in your life.
Oh, right. That one was interesting.
Wasn't it?
Like taking inventory.
It is. Of the people, experiences, even thought patterns.
That are either supporting or hindering your growth.
And it can be tough to face those liabilities.
Oh, yeah. Things we might be clinging to.
That are actually holding us back.
It's hard to let go sometimes.
It is. But that's where self-compassion comes in again.
Right. It's not about beating yourself up.
It's about recognizing those patterns with kindness.
You're understanding.
And then making choices to cultivate the assets.
The things that bring us joy and meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that sense of agency of taking responsibility.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's a big theme throughout the book.
It is. It's not about blaming others.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose how you respond.
Even to tough situations.
Exactly. And the author really gets into that in the chapter on procrastination.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
They talk about the fear of failure, the need for perfectionism.
Even self-sabotage.
It's like they're saying, look, we all have these tendencies.
But understanding them is the first step.
To overcoming them.
And they offer some pretty practical strategies for doing that.
They do. One that stood out to me was breaking down big tasks into smaller chunks.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
It is. It sounds so simple.
But it really works.
It does. And what I thought was really insightful was how they connect procrastination to control.
Oh, interesting.
They argue that sometimes we procrastinate because it gives us this illusion of control.
Like we're choosing to do it later.
But deep down, we might be afraid
of failing.
of not meeting our own expectations.
Or even of succeeding.
Yeah, and then having to deal with the consequences.
Wow,
It's deep, right?
It is. It makes you think.
And that's what I appreciate about this book.
Yeah.
The author doesn't shy away from those deeper truths.
The uncomfortable stuff.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those patterns, challenging those beliefs.
And stepping outside of our comfort zone.
To embrace growth.
And speaking of comfort zones.
Yeah.
The author's discussion of hypervigilance was really eye-opening for me.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
It is. It's that state of heightened alertness.
Anxiety.
Yeah, that can come from past trauma.
Like your nervous system is stuck in overdrive.
Always scanning for threats.
Even when you're safe.
And the author does a great job of explaining it.
They do.
Drawing on both personal experience and research.
And they talk about how it can impact relationships.
Making it hard to relax, to trust.
To really connect.
And they offer some strategies for managing it.
Yeah, mindfulness, breathing exercises, even tracking your anxiety levels.
It's about developing tools to cope
to create a sense of safety.
And that's what I love about this book. Yeah. It's that blend of empathy and practicality.
It's not just about understanding the problem.
It's about having tools to address it.
Exactly. And that's what makes Unlocking Life such a powerful resource.
I agree. It's not just another self-help book.
It's a guide for living a more fulfilling life.
A more meaningful life.
And a more authentic life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways you hope listeners will remember?
Well, I think the biggest one is that personal growth is a journey.
Not a destination.
Exactly. It's ongoing. It's about self-reflection, learning, course correction.
Embracing the messiness.
And remembering that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
And that self-compassion is essential.
Oh, absolutely. It's the foundation for everything.
Treating yourself with kindness.
Recognizing your own worth.
And knowing that you have the power to choose growth.
And healing.
And that growth often comes from stepping outside our comfort zones.
Challenging our beliefs.
Taking ownership of our life.
Recognizing that we're not just passive bystanders.
We're active participants.
In shaping our own destinies.
Unlocking Life is a powerful reminder of that.
It is. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to create a life that's truly our own.
A life that's fulfilling, meaningful, authentic.
It's not a quick fix.
But it's a roadmap.
For navigating the complexities of being human.
With all the ups and downs.
The joys and sorrows.
And everything in between.
So if you're looking for a book that will challenge you, inspire you.
And give you practical tools for growth.
Unlocking Life is definitely worth checking out.
It's a deep dive into what it means to be human.
And we encourage you to take the plunge.
Keep seeking. Keep growing.
And keep unlocking your full potential.